You're listening to the Bleach Brothers podcast, hosted by B-Word and Jake.
Well, hello there, Jake. It's B-Word. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Better than you.
And explain that.
I'm just always better than you. Let's just be honest. Any topic we talk about, it's me, then you. I don't care what anybody says. I know we've got feedback. Thank you from everybody. But no, honestly, yeah, no, it's good. We've just been busy. I had a moment today. I wanted to get into something with you really quick.
Okay.
We're men. We're adults. I'm not like, you grow up and you grow out of things, or you might have been afraid of like clowns or the dark or anything. But I've realized with myself, I'm not really a fearful person, right? I'm pretty. My feet are on the ground. I'm pretty good at a lot of things. My wife has tried to scare me multiple times. I think there's only one horror movie that's ever really gotten me. But I was thinking about it. I was like, well, what am I afraid of? And I'm afraid of the most irrational crap. Okay.
So what are you afraid of?
So my fear, it's really stupid, but and it happened to me today in the car. I was actually working, and my car's almost my office sometimes. And I packed my lunch, and I had an orange. And literally one of my biggest fears in life is being stuck like in the middle of the desert and only having an orange to eat.
What?
And not because it's like that's the only food I have. It's honestly because I'd have to peel it, and the orange juice would get on my hands, and my hands would be sticky, and then the sand or the dirt from the desert would get there, and I would have nothing to clean myself. And it just...
Oh, man.
This is true.
I thought that was going somewhere else. This is a real fear.
This is my number one. I think it's one or two. I only have two fears, and this is a fear, because I can't stand my hands being... I'm in a good industry because you have to wash your hands so damn much.
Right.
But yeah, dude, if the hot sun... All right, just imagine if you peeled an orange, right, Brian? And the hot sun's on you, and you're in the dirt, and you're eating this orange... And then the juice is dripping down because it's a good orange, right? It's a good juicy orange.
Whatever happened to licking your fingers?
Because there's still juice in your mouth. And it's not cleaning, okay? We're not cats. We don't have sandpaper tongues. This is disgusting. You get all sticky and gross, and then the dirt might get on you, and then it's in between your fingers, so you're like a webbed chameleon. It's horrible.
I have no clue who I'm talking to right now.
This is not a joke. I'm not lying. This is number one. I would cringe. It's like, I'm not saying I'm OCD, and I hate when people say they're OCD because they're usually not. They just overuse that. They're just dumb. But number two,
finicky.
Yeah. Number two is in this one you might think more of is deep water.
Well, okay. But that's suffocating and your body.
No, not even that. No, it's not that. It's like giant squids and stuff. God,
you're a man child.
God put me on land for a reason. Okay, there's a creature.
You're a man child. I can't believe we're actually having this conversation right now.
There's a creature in the ocean, Brian, that's gonna eat me. I know it, dude. I just know, I'm gonna be that guy. Every year they're like, oh, 3 people in Florida died from a shark attack. I'm that person. I'm that person that if I got in the ocean, I'm dying tomorrow from a shark attack.
Check it out, though. You have a better possibility of being eaten by a shark if you just keep the orange juice on your fingers while you're swimming.
You know what? Shut up. I knew I shouldn't share this stuff with you, but I was just...
when I was growing up, it was like, kids were scared of the dark. I don't think I've ever been at a point where I was scared of the dark, but it was a common thing. I was in grade school. I don't even remember what grade. And
well, I'll tell you where. Where were you living, in Beatty or Pahrump?
No, I was living in Carson City at the time.
Okay.
And it was before I moved to Beatty or Pahrump. But here's the thing. My mom picked me up from school because I was sick. And she went to Blockbuster Video or Hollywood Video or one of the video stores, and she ended up picking up some movies, and then she made some Rice Krispie treats and some different things because she actually had to work that day, so she was leaving me at home because I was sick. And I don't know why Rice Krispie treats are a good thing for when you're sick, but regardless, I liked it. And so she ended up going to the movie store, whatever movie store she went to, and she rented Stephen King's It. Now, here's the thing. We've all watched Stephen King's It, and if you haven't, you need to watch Stephen King's It, the original one. But back in the day, it was on 2 VHS tapes.
Yeah,
so the first VHS tape follows the children as they're dealing with the clown, with Pennywise the clown, Right, and that's the best part of the movie. But then at the end of that VHS tape, there's no like solution, right? It just never ends. And so my mom did not know that there was a second VHS tape. So she rented the one VHS tape for me, right? And so I bond with these kids because, you know, I was about the same age, and like I understand that there's this murderous clown, cannibal clown that's going around killing all these children and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the fucking clown never died, dude. So, like, I was probably 7, 8 years old when I saw this, and then I didn't know that there was a second VHS tape until I was probably 13 or 14. And so for a good 5, 6 years, I was terrified of Pennywise the Clown because I thought he was going to eat me in my dreams. It was nasty. It was shenanigans.
Oh, speaking of this, then, all right, you know, the reason the child part's, you know, if we're going to talk about fears real quick, the reason the child part's better is because it's like you said, you grow out of your irrational fears. Apparently, I'm a man child, and I haven't. My irrational fear from that movie is, remember the shower scene?
Yeah.
When I used to stare down at my drain when I was a little kid, because I watched it when I was really young, like you too.
Right.
I think it came out in like 91 or 90.
I think it was 91, 92, maybe even 90, somewhere in there.
Which is funny, now that you look back, it was released on CBS TV.
Right. It was a miniseries.
It was a miniseries.
Yeah,
on
it was
TV.
crazy.
But I would look at the drain and I would get freaked out, and so that was another irrational fear, I guess. I have another stupid one. I'll just name this, and then you can kick me off the show. The bathroom fan used to scare me.
Why?
All right. One, I didn't grow up, you know, in the most substantial of homes. You know, no.
So what did you have? Like an actual fan with?
No,
like,
we didn't have a fan at all. No, we didn't have. Remember, Brian? We didn't even have doorknobs. So, but no, the fan. I don't know. I didn't like the noise, and I thought like the Blob or something would come out and get me when I was a little kid. So I just never turned it on. And I think more people were afraid of me after leaving because I did the bathroom. But whatever.
So when we were in high school, I had a sleepover at my dad's house.
Right.
And I think it was for my birthday or something. And it was you and like 4 or 5 other people. And I remember you took a shit in my dad's bathroom. Mm-hmm. And to this day, he still knows you as the kid who took a shit in his bathroom because there was not a fan in that bathroom. And you blew it up. Like, it was bad. It was bad. I literally don't know what you ate. Like,
was that when your dad was in the single wide?
Yeah.
And yeah, we all smelled the whole. Yeah, I mean, we were.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very big house, so.
No, you blew it up. You blew it up, and the entire party we had to sit there and smell it. It was crazy.
So as an adult though, B-word, what is a fear of yours?
You know, I think as I've gotten older, I'm not as good with heights as I used to be. Okay. I remember as a kid, you know, the high dive at the swimming pool, or, you know, you look off a cliff, and it really wasn't an issue. And now, I don't know what it would feel like to stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon and look down. Like, that is something that I don't think that I would be paranoid about. But it's something that I just look and I get the case of the woos, you know, and just like, whoa.
No, I think
I feel like I'm gonna fall.
I think there's 2 reasons people are afraid of heights, and I think I'm one part, and I think you're another. And this is going to go into something, but when you look over, let's say, like, you know, heights are now a thing, and you get the whoops when you're looking over the Grand Canyon. Is it because 1, you're afraid you're going to fall and it's far down, or 2, because somebody's going to push you? Mine is the push. I could
imagine the push with you. I can only handle you for about an hour a week, so I totally agree with the people pushing you. Hi, Katie, by the way. And you know, I think for me, so okay, let me back up. So my daughter is 18 years old, and she is actually about ready to graduate high school. And about 12 years ago, I took her to the Stratosphere in Las Vegas. 12 or 13 years ago.
Okay.
And so we get all the way up to the top of the Stratosphere, and it's surrounded by windows. And she runs right to the window, and she leans against the window to look down. Mm-hmm. And for me at that moment, it was like, I need to remove her from the window. Because what if the window falls in?
That's scary. Yeah, right? I get you.
Yeah, like that to me is something just like, it's like crazy. And then, you know, to this day, I still talk with her about that. Now, at 18 years old, I don't think that she would do that. And I think, when we start talking about heights or even, scared of the dark or, some different I don't want to say childish, but like, fears that we have growing up, I think we grow out of them. But I also think that we value life a little bit more the longer we spend in it. And so like for me, heights, I don't really want to leave this earth quite yet.
Oh.
And so, the fear of like actually falling, like it's not the fall that scares me,
death?
it's the sudden stop. Like it's the stop. And with me, it's not only a stop, it's the hole that I create in the ground, and it's the couple of bounces that I take.
I think I've come to terms with why my fears are irrational, because I don't have a fear of that at all. I'm more afraid of the
reason
orange.
why your fears are irrational is because you are irrational.
Well, that's true.
Like that's plain and simple.
I'm an erratic human being, and of course mine would have to do with food. Okay, but just like I was saying, I'm gonna move to something for us, and I think you're gonna enjoy this. Just like I was saying, there was 2 reasons you might be afraid of heights, right? Like mine is being pushed, and yeah, that's a lot of people's, but some of it is just, the fall on the ground or whatever. So I brought it up on the show before. I know we've talked about it. Me and you have talked to extent on this. The theory of 2. Okay, and the theory of 2, and I'm just going to let the listeners know, is where I believe that there is always 2 things that come out around the same time, and it doesn't have to be like the same day, same year, everything, but within a same period. That makes that where they are similar, they sound the same, they might be the same, and the other part of that, the caveat to it is people always pick one or another. And I guarantee you, B-word, because we've said this before, we don't always agree. Most of the stuff that I have on a list of things that I would consider in the theory of 2, we might disagree. Like one of the biggest examples is the movie A Bug's Life by Ants. So that was released in 1998, and so was another movie, Ants. And, you know what I mean? If you look at it, you're like, okay, 2 bug films, CGI, came out around the same time, high actors, right? So that's the theory of 2. There's 2 that came out, same year, almost the same premise. And so my next point is...
Very similar.
Which one's better?
I think I've always liked A Bug's Life better.
And see, you're wrong. Ants is way better. And, all right, just the scene alone. I'm gonna write a scene, and maybe it's because we're adults now, but the scene where they're at the bar in Ants, and they're sucking from an aphid's butt to get drunk, is enough of a great part of a movie to make me like it more.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I do think that there is some substance to your theory here. We've talked about, you and I've talked about the theory of 2 quite often, and I don't think we've ever gotten into it, so maybe we can explore that tonight. But one of the things that you and I have talked about is like, especially with entertainment and bands and different things. I mean, you talk about NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, how they came out right around the same time, right? Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, same thing there. But what other examples? I mean, what's another example of something in this theory of 2 that you have?
Well, a lot of them are movies, and it's funny because a lot of them can be released in the same time. Like, all right, for example, Armageddon and Deep Impact.
Right.
But I've never seen Deep Impact. So I'm already partial to Armageddon. I like that movie. Better soundtrack, better everything. Right.
I agree. It's got a better soundtrack.
Turner and Hooch and K-9. K-9 to me is the trailer park version of. It's like a knockoff. It's not as good. Right. More recent, No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits.
See, I've never seen No Strings Attached. I have watched Friends with Benefits because I'm a huge Justin Timberlake fan.
See, I'm a big Ashton Kutcher fan.
I'm partial to that.
And they're both good, you know what I mean, for their own rights. And it's one of those ones where they both have enough substance of differences where they're the same. Like, I mean, the ones that aren't fair are like Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey films, because I mean that's. But like another one like from our genre, like when American Pie and all those movies were coming out, was, I don't know if you ever seen this one, but did you ever see Boys and Girls? No. So that has Jason Biggs in it from American Pie, and then there's another one, and it's one of my favorite ones. It used to be before Netflix and chill, when you would when you'd bring a girl back or whatever,
you
like, hey, you want to
Blockbuster and Bust?
Yeah, you want. I have not heard that. I just was going to say Hollywood Video, and that was... there was a movie called Whatever It Takes, and it's got James Franco, and it's got the guy from... I think it's the guy from... what's that movie with Mandy Moore where she dies? That.
Oh, A Walk
Nicholas
to
Sparks-
Remember?
A Walk to Remember. It's got that guy in it. It's got
The
actually a
main
lot of
character
stars.
from that?
Yeah, it's also got the kid from Breaking Bad, the Aaron.
Oh, Jesse?
Jesse, yeah. But this movie's called Whatever It Takes, and it's got Maria Sokoloff, who I used to have a huge crush on. But that was the movie I'd tell girls like, oh yeah, I like chick flicks, and I'd put this on. It's not really a chick flick, but it was our teenage thing, and that's when I was in my 19s, to whatever. And it was one of those movies I'd throw it on. Nobody really ever saw it. But those two movies are sort of similar. Boys and Girls had a bigger, it came out in theaters, more people knew about it. It wasn't very good, but they came out around the same time. If you're mentioning bands, to me, it was Newfound Glory and Good Charlotte. And no, mind you, to people, don't take this as I think they sound the same, because they don't. Okay.
No, there's really the storyline can be different too in the movies, but they share similarities.
Right,
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, they were pop punk bands that came out. I mean, everybody knew about them, and the difference is you had people just like girls who was the who liked NSYNC more and who liked Backstreet Boys, and then every now and then you'd have the weirdo that showed up and yelled out O-Town, but
Yeah, but no, O-Town never really existed in my book. I don't think that was ever appropriate. But you look at Mariah and Whitney.
Okay.
Obviously Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, song wise, they were very similar
at the time.
They were in the same genre. They can both hit incredible notes. I also think about video games. I mean, obviously Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter.
Very good one. That's a very and the movies came out around the same time too.
They did. They did, yeah. So now that the new Mortal Kombat movie is coming out, I would be curious to see if they would be rebooting a Street Fighter here shortly. But you go back to video games, and you have Rampage and Donkey Kong.
See, I don't. Okay, I guess the only thing I see in that, and I'm gonna give you crap on this one for a minute because you're not a fan of Godzilla and monster movies. To me, that sounds like a bad argument in the sense of it's just a giant ape and a giant ape. Because Rampage is a way better game. Donkey Kong was.
It is two apes. Period. There's nothing more to it.
Okay, whatever.
There's nothing more that has. But on that same level, obviously we're talking about an Italian plumber and a hedgehog here. But when you talk about Mario and Sonic, the similarities that they share in video games, I mean, as far as gameplay goes, strategy, all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of similarities with the Sonic games and the original Mario games.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I actually watched a documentary recently on this. I don't know if you've seen it, and it was Video Game Wars. And it was all about the consoles and how Nintendo had a monopoly on everything. And I don't think we realized as kids, because we were kids, that Nintendo was in court all the time for just being oh yeah, they were ruthless. And it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever watched The Simpsons growing up, but the scene with Bill Gates where he's goes to Homer and is I'm gonna buy you out, and Homer cheers, and buying him out means beating him up and destroying all his equipment. That's what Nintendo was doing, and it was weird. I watched this documentary. I had no idea, and that's when they were yeah, we were trying to come out with a character like Mario that was our namesake and our face. And so I'll ask you two questions on this, Brian. One, were you a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis kid?
I was more of a Sega Genesis.
Me too.
I enjoyed Altered Beast. I enjoyed Road Rash. I thought that the wrestling games were a lot better on Sega Genesis than they were on Super Nintendo. Now, full disclosure, I had both. I had a Super Nintendo at my dad's, and I had a Sega Genesis at my mom's. And I lived with my mom most of the time, so that might create the bias there for me because I would only play Sega Genesis for a while. But so similar to this, are you a PlayStation person or are you a Nintendo 64?
At the time, I was Nintendo 64. When I became an adult, mind you, there's only Wii and all that. But I mean, I turned into a PlayStation. But I was always a Nintendo 64 guy. I remember that was because you remember when we were kids, I was one of the youngest kids with a job. I got one at 11. Mm-hmm. And I saved up all my money. And I remember my mom was so mad because I went and spent $385 for 2 games, an extra controller, and a system. And I got the black one because that was at the time too. That was the way you could customize things, right? It wasn't backgrounds and all that. It was
colors of your game console and
the clear colors were really in and everything. But yeah, so I will say I was a Sega Genesis guy. I was also the person that got a Sega Saturn for some reason.
I never had the Sega Saturn ever.
So I have a little side note. I have a video game collection, and you know me, I collect some things. And I have two regular Nintendos. I have an Atari. I have a 3DO. I have a Jaguar, a Sega Saturn, a Sega Genesis.
Jaguar. I haven't heard about a Jaguar in a long time.
And I got like all the weird equipment. Like I have the Rumble backpack for the Sega Genesis, where you wore it on your back and it did vibrate. It was supposed to make you feel like surround. That was in the time like they were making rides and stuff that like shot air under your legs and stuff. So I have almost every console and a lot of games. I have them like in airtight cases and stuff. And I just sold my entire PlayStation 1 collection though last year, and I think total, because I sold them all separate, I made about $3,500.
Wow,
from the whole collection, because people are coming back now that the PlayStation 5 is going to be backwards compatible. So back to video games again though. Then, were you a Mortal Kombat or a Street Fighter guy?
I was more Mortal Kombat.
Same here. Now, was it because of the blood or the characters or the graphics?
It had to do a lot about the blood.
Did it?
I think because of the blood and gore that really attracted me at that age. Street Fighter was fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was really fun. I like to play with Guile. But with Mortal Kombat, I was very much a Sub-Zero fan, and so I really enjoyed playing with Sub-Zero. But, Mortal Kombat was really good that way. I thought that the incorporation of the blood and guts was pretty cool for what it was at that time.
I was
think
more...
That's probably what drew me to it.
I was more into Mortal Kombat due to the secrets of it. Because I'm one of those guys, and Aaron Yap, I'm going to shout out to him because he really got me into video games, especially in college. One of our really good friends, the one who owes us a steak.
Oh, yeah. He still owes us a steak. Don't let us forget that.
So, there's the mode in video games where you can train and you learn all the moves. So, Aaron will do that over and over to master a video game. And so he got me into that. So I used to do, and that's what Street Fighter was about to me. It was just mastering moves and just getting through the game, right? Mortal Kombat was like finding Easter eggs in a movie. Like you had to figure out, and you would go and, they came out with, all the magazines like Nintendo Power and all those things where you could find the cheat codes. But like back, I guess the same thing that is, I was never a Game Genie kid. I thought it was stupid. But it's like I relished when I could figure out a fatality of like Scorpion, or you'd go to school and go, oh, if you hit back A, you throw the spear and all those secret moves. I think the other reason is though, just like my irrational fears, I am terrible at picking characters in video games. My favorite character in Street Fighter was Blanca, probably the worst character to play with. I literally, and I would get my ass kicked every time. And because I would just crouch and shoot lightning because I thought it was cool. And then I realized it's the stupidest move in the game. And then my second character was the Yoga Fire, whatever, the Indian dude that was stretchy.
Oh, yeah.
And just because I thought it was cool that you could kick your leg across the screen. Mind you, I sucked at it. Now on a side note on that, arcade games, did you ever play Primal Rage?
No.
Okay, so Primal Rage is like, you probably didn't because it's about giant monsters again. Primal Rage is like,
I'm noticing a pattern here.
I would compare that more to Rampage. It was like Mortal Kombat and Rampage had a little baby, and then you put a quarter in it and you got to play this game. And I loved that game. I remember the pizza place I worked at. My name was on the top of that board forever.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, so
I think that you can find a lot of theory of two here in video games and also in movies, but I'm going to throw one at you here real quick and let me know, because, back when we were younger, WWF and WCW had this big, it was the Monday Night Wars, right? Did you ever get into that?
So I didn't have cable growing up. Remember, I was poor. So I was a WWF guy, and I was an ECW guy. So again,
I like ECW.
I love ECW, even though now like watching documentaries, because I don't know why I've been watching an A&E lately. There's tons of documentaries on all the wrestlers,
right?
And finding out how crappy ECW was, but I liked it. I was a WWF guy because I didn't get to watch WCW, even though all the stars went over there. And
right,
the good thing about WCW, it actually got WWF to start their Attitude Era, and so we got the hot chicks.
And
that's all I cared about.
Absolutely. So, okay, so you can either focus on this retroactively or even in the moment, but what's better, Degeneration X or the NWO?
Degeneration X.
So, see, I agree too. I do. I agree. I liked Generation X. I thought NWO grew way too fast and it was way too much.
Well, and there was the Wolfpack, and then there was the red and red and black, and
there was the Latino World Order, and then there was a few other ones. Yeah, it was just
you know
there was
why?
a lot to keep up with there.
2 words, B word. Suck it.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know
it.
for DX.
Well, I remember going through like middle school and doing the crotch chop. And then getting in trouble for doing the crotch chop.
No, okay, all right. On that note, because there's 2 crotch chops. Were you a Triple H crotch chop or a Shawn Michaels crotch chop?
I was a Shawn Michaels crotch chop.
See, I was a Triple H. I believe that if you were in DX, you had to show the X. And the funny thing is, Triple H is like, or Shawn Michaels looks like maybe his little brother during that time, right?
Yeah.
And me and my brother was the Shawn Michaels crotch chop, so it looked like that all the time when we did that in public because we're 13
funny.
months apart. All right, I got one that's not music or movie or person. Smacks the cereal or Golden Crisp?
Golden Crisp.
And is it just 100%. Because of the bear?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. I like the frog logo better. I think, now here's the thing. If we're just going off the character on the cereal, I like the frog better than the bear. Okay? I'm being upfront, okay? We're not going down the bunny, whatever, Space Jam furry crap, okay? But here's my reason I'm going to pick Smacks over it. When we were kids, Golden Crisp, which it used to be called Sugar Crisp back in the day, and the laws made them change it. It used to come in a foil bag like Pops. Remember Pops did too?
Yeah.
To keep it fresher, and then they got rid of that, and now it sucks.
Right.
Now it just gets all clumped together.
I think cereal's just a terrible thing anymore. I really do. But you look at like Corn Flakes and Frosted Flakes. I mean, it's kind of the same thing too. But again, I agree with your theory of 2. I think it's really interesting. I do. I remember. So one of my favorite movies is Tombstone. And right around the time Tombstone was released, now that was with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer and Sam Elliott and some really good actors. But right around that same time, Wyatt Earp was also released as well, and that was with Kevin Costner.
Never seen
it. Well, I haven't either. I actually hear it's rather terrible.
Okay.
But I'm a huge fan of Tombstone. But again, I mean, Hollywood tries to do that. I think that there's something in the media that says, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's recreate it," or "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's try to launch its competitor." Something like that. I think. And especially if you watch the Netflix shows or documentaries called like "The Toys That Made Us" or the series that made us. Those types of documentaries, they actually talk a lot about that too.
Yeah. Now my question is like, so if you read up the story on the first one we talked about, Bug's Life versus Dan, right? The director at Pixar is like, "Oh, we never even heard of that movie being made," or vice versa. One of them said they never knew. Do you ever believe that crap? No, I don't believe that. I'm gonna interrupt my own question to you before you answer and say no, because how the hell are they gonna say they don't know that's going on? You know what's going on in the industry. Right. Now, what do you think?
I think that there's with anything, right? Almost nothing's a secret anymore, and so especially in Hollywood. Somebody's going to piss off somebody, and somebody might have a secret and might leak it to another studio. So, it's hard to believe that they don't know that something else is coming out, especially with magazines like Variety and Entertainment Weekly and stuff that actually come out with some of the news. But I mean, it's one of those things. I think your theory of 2 is really interesting. I think you can see it a lot in movies. You can see it a lot in music. I think that Dave Matthews, as an example, sounds almost identical to John Mayer. So, you start to look at some of this stuff, and there's a niche that they're trying to fill, or there's a certain sound that they're trying to do. There's it's something like that where it's like. Well, it's kind of hard to it's hard to describe because I feel like there's a lot of similarities, but they're also not identical.
Well, and I think the other part of it though too is to show that there's always somebody that likes something opposite, in the sense of like you go out and you're like, oh man, the Instinct's the biggest boy band in the world, and you're like, oh, but there are people that are way bigger fans of now. An interesting one that I would like to see if you have an answer to this. Do you have, because we both like stand-up comedy a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
Which comedians would you say you could put them in? Is there any that you could put in this? And not
Kevin
not
Hart
just
and Cat Williams.
that's actually okay. I was not. Yeah, I was trying to think. What now is it because they're both short and black?
Yes.
Oh, see, I was gonna. Oh, wait, before you answered,
no, if you look at their style of comedy, I think that there's a lot of similarities in their style of comedy.
D.L. Hughley to Kevin Hart more so.
I don't know that I would agree with that. I think D.L. Hughley's funny. I just don't think that he and Kevin Hart have the same.
Is he more like Eddie Griffith? See, now we're going down that where it's like now you're getting really close because that's like, trying to compare like, four bands that are similar around the same time. Because I was going to interrupt you before you said those two and say, you can't do something like Ralphie May and Gabriel, what's his name? Fluffy?
Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah. Because they're both just big.
But their comedy styles, two entirely different comedy. I mean, you look at Gabriel Iglesias, and while he's somewhat risque, I rarely ever hear a cuss word in a Gabriel Iglesias stand-up.
Yeah, it's interesting because I got introduced to Ralphie May on what's that one show when they were trying to find comedians?
Last Comic Standing.
So I heard all the edited stuff, and then when I found like more about him, I'm like, oh man, this guy is dirty as hell. Like when we all found out Bob
Iglesias got kicked out of that show because he used a cell phone.
Right. But see, like if you look at it, like it's like when we all had our childhoods ruined that we found out with Bob Saget was like the biggest perv ever.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
it was great. I mean, and that's why I loved him in Entourage. I guess the comedians I would say is Bill Engvall and Jeff Foxworthy.
I think that those two are really close. I think that those two because those two tour together, so I do think that they mirror each other in a lot of different ways, but they're also key differences. I mean, you've got the Here's Your Sign and You Might Be a Redneck, which both kind of play on the same type of topics, but I think, and Tim Allen used to do stand-up comedy. And when I think of Tim Allen doing stand-up comedy, I think of Bill Engvall. I don't, I think that they probably have a closer stand-up comedy routine. Than Bill Engvall and Jeff Foxworthy. But there is a correlation there. But I even think that I think that there's always a gap in entertainment that they're always trying to fill, right? So you look at Saturday Night Live, and you look at Belushi, right? And who do they go to a generation or two later? They go to Chris Farley. And a generation or two later, they go to Horatio Sanz. And a generation or two later, now they've got Kenan Thompson, right? So they've always got
so you're saying
kind
they're
of
just looking
fluffy
for a fat
guy
every 10 years?
Yeah. No, I do. And I think that they're also looking for people who carry specific things. So if you look at Chevy Chase.
They carry weight, Brian.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. They but I think if you look at Chevy Chase, you can also say, okay, well that could be a Will Ferrell. Right, or that could be. Oh, why am I losing his name? He's the guy who died. Saturday Night Live, everybody's died, right? He's the guy who played Bill Clinton for a while.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes, and yes, you did, Mr. Bill Clinton. And so, I do think that there's always a void that's trying to be filled in entertainment, and that's why I think the boy band circuit went on for a while, and that's also why I think you look at like Tupac and Biggie, and then they had their own crews that were similar, right? So I think that you look at Jay-Z and Nas. I think you look at
now that also gets into like just beefs, right? Like that's just
I'm not necessarily talking about the beefs. I'm talking about similarities.
No, but you can't. Okay, but the difference is like Tupac and Biggie. I see what you're saying. It's almost in the theory too, but it's not quite because that was more East Coast versus West Coast, right? That was I
wasn't necessarily trying to say it as they were similar. I was trying to say that type of genre.
Okay, and you're just saying there's always I get what you're, okay.
Yeah, there's always somebody who wants to fill it. I mean, you look at like Ja Rule and oh my gosh, and Exhibit, right? Both of those two tried to fill kind of a quasi, like DMX was off doing what DMX did, and somebody was trying to fill his shoes. I think that there's always some type of in entertainment, music, movies, television shows, there's always some type of void that's trying to be filled. You look at some major television shows like Seinfeld or Friends or All in the Family or, whatever. And there's always something to try to fill it. You look at that All in the Family void, and that may have spawned Married with Children. That may have spawned Roseanne, right? Television shows like that. But then you look at Tool Time, and you can, or I don't think it was called Tool Time.
It was called
Home Improvement,
yeah.
Right? And Home Improvement has spawned shows like Modern Family. And granted, there's differences because it's obviously different generations, and the camera angles and the storylines are more modern now than what they would have been. But I do think that there's a lot in entertainment that does have a void where Hollywood or whoever's influencing it says, we need this. This is what I'm looking for. And I think that that's what they're always trying to cast.
Now, do you feel like it's part of the, like, you know what I mean, where they make, like what Korea does, right? Like, I watched a documentary on Korean pop, and I love K-pop music. I don't care. You can make fun of it.
I know nothing about K-pop.
They go out and they essentially do...
Gangnam Style.
I mean, that... Oh, okay. Anyways, the point is that they go out and make a band. And at first I was like, oh yeah, it's because they control and they're doing this. And then I'm thinking, no, we did the same thing with boy bands here. They're just doing it years later. But they also go out and they create something that they know has worked and then redo it for this generation. Now the difference is, the one thing I hate that Hollywood does is when they try to just remake something, because there's a difference of recreating a nostalgia and it's good, and then there's a difference, like if they make a new Goonies film, my God, the world should burn down. There's no reason to do it.
I think there's some things that are remade in a good way, specifically if it's satire, right? So back to your theory of two, you've got the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family. So they remade the Brady Bunch in the mid-'90s, late 90s, something like that. And it was a satire, right? It was like the 70s characters, but that were in 90s world, and they just didn't understand what was happening in the world. I appreciated that. I thought that was pretty, a good spin on it.
Or like in a continuation, like when they do, like the movie Predators, instead of The Predator, it wasn't a recreate, it was a retelling, and then they had scenes that were similar. Instead of, the Indian, taking his necklace and then, dying to the Predator, it was the samurai. Or the, Yakuza guy, or whatever you want to call him. I agree with things like that. Or like a good example was the movie The Thing. And then they came out with another one, and I was like, oh, they're just recreating it. And then when you watch it, you're like, no, this is a continuation. This is great.
I like the continuation storylines. I think that specifically in Hollywood, I mean, you have a movie that's turned into a television series, right? So like Denzel Washington and The Equalizer. They made an Equalizer television series. I didn't watch it mainly because I don't have cable now. I stream most everything, and I think it's on CBS, and I just haven't paid for the CBS stuff, so I don't watch a whole lot of the CBS. But I think Queen Latifah is the Equalizer, which is really cool. So I think that she's a great actress.
I hate Queen Latifah. I do. I hate Queen Latifah. I don't care. Her voice annoys me. You know what? And here's the thing. I like thick chicks. I like women like a milkshake, a little bit thick, okay, and chocolatey. I don't care about that. I just think she's annoying. She's one of those girls. I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I'm going to go into something real fast. She's one of those girls, B-word, that just thinks she's the girl that wears the word queen on her butt. Okay, she just thinks that she deserves everything, and she's
but
so
she also
damn
wears
self-righteous.
Latifah on her chest.
That's another problem, and I didn't mean queen on her butt because her name's Queen. I just meant she's the epitome of that. Like if she wasn't a Hollywood star, she's buying a white 2003 Escalade and doing stuff, and then it's got 19 stickers of her kids on the back, and she's got a crappy little
rims.
dog at front that lives in a damn. It's one of those Chihuahua with no teeth and a bulging eye that lives in her purse and stinks of licorice. Okay, that's why she annoys me.
Okay, fair. But back to what we were talking about, because we're just going to skip over that one, unlike your Rosie talk last week. We're gonna but like Magnum PI back in the day was a pretty popular television series. They're trying to remake it now. Same thing with like Miami Vice. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe not Miami Vice, but Hawaii Five-0. I'm not about the remakes. I think that there's certain movies that you don't remake. I think The Goonies is a really good example. I don't think that you should remake the movie. But, in the spirit of that, I also don't think that you need to remake The Godfather. You don't need
never
to
do. There's
remake
certain things you
Citizen
just don't
Kane.
touch.
Right.
Now, on that, Brian, though, would you rather watch a remake movie or a continuation story of a TV show? Because the problem I have is I don't ever watch those. I rarely ever watch those because I'm like, I liked the movie. I don't need to see a crappier version with new people in it that is going on forever and bad and worse writing. I just don't care. I'd rather watch a remake of a film and hope for the best, I guess, than put time into a show that I'm probably going to dislike.
I mean, do I have to pick one? Because in all reality, I probably won't watch either one of them. So, Point Break came out 5-6 years ago, right? And it's a remake of the Keanu Reeves Point Break. And it wasn't the same. They tried to switch it up a little bit. And I tried to watch it. I really did. I think that the soundtrack for Point Break was really good, and it made Point Break. And I thought that was really, really well done. And so when they came out with the new Point Break, I was kind of looking forward to, okay, you could change the storyline a little bit, but give me a really good soundtrack to get back into the feel of that. And not only was it a shitty soundtrack, but it just wasn't a good storyline. And the certain things that they tried to recreate, they just did a really piss poor job at doing that. And I was not happy with it. So I'm not a huge fan of remakes in general. I think that there's certain ways that you can twist something where it's not quite the same. Like Aaron Brockovich. Aaron Brockovich was a great movie with Julia Roberts. And now they're actually doing a television show that I haven't watched yet, but I'd like to here shortly. I don't even know if it's aired yet. But it's basically a movie about Aaron Brockovich, if you will, without the name Aaron Brockovich, and it stars Gemma from Sons of Anarchy. I forget what her name is. Peg from Married with Children. I don't remember what the actress's name is, but she's more or less playing the Aaron Brockovich character, and I think that would be something that would be kind of interesting to watch. While it's not a remake, it's a retelling, if that makes sense.
Well, that makes sense. Now, So I read an article. I think I've talked to you about this before. I read an article, I think 6 years ago, or maybe it was, I don't know. It was a while back, and it was in a magazine. It was either Esquire or GQ, something I was subscribing to at the time, right? And it was talking about how Hollywood has lost all its original ideas, and it's not like the sense of like the movie. Did you ever see Lady in the Water? And I'm not trying to go on a side note. I'm just bringing up a point about it. So that's an M. Night Shyamalan film, and there's a character in that film that's a movie writer, right? And he's always looking for something else to put in a movie because he says everything's been done. And so throughout the whole movie, he's pointing out things like girl will get chased, and and it's all the cliches that you usually know. And this article was a great read. I mean, me and you, we both like to read. I like to learn new things, but I also like opinion theories and stuff like that. And the guy writing this article was essentially saying, I don't know what's wrong with Hollywood anymore and he listed out, like at the time, like 8 movies coming out. And out of the 8, 2 were prequels, 3 were sequels, and 3 were total remakes. And they were almost all the biggest movies to come out that year. And he goes, we have no more original ideas. And I think it was when like the final Harry Potter was coming out, which we need a finish of it, right? Prequels, I'm usually hit or miss on those. I'm not usually a big prequel fan because I'm one of those people that's like, well, I already know where it's going to end up. So it's rare that you're going to please me because I know the ending of the movie already. Give me a really damn good beginning. If not, okay, yeah, we're going to lead up to this point. Or you're going to try to really stretch it out and do, this. Or you're really going to screw up the timeline and piss me off more, right?
Right.
But the part of the article, he was writing about Christopher Nolan. And he was like, Christopher Nolan came out with Inception. And that movie was
great movie.
It was a great movie. But it was, I don't know if you know this, it was shot down from every studio.
Every studio. Yep.
Every studio said no. And what they said is the only way he got to make it is in his contract. He said, hey, I'll finish the Batman trilogy if you let me make this movie. And that's why it came out between Batman, The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Right?
Right.
And I mean, it was and it's true. That's what Hollywood's doing. All we do is we remake movies. Now there is some that I that come out that some people don't know are remakes either. Like, the movie I Am Legend with Will Smith?
Yes.
That's a remake.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. It's from a very old film. Like
wow.
Ocean's 11 is a remake.
I know Ocean's 11's a remake.
And have you watched the original?
With Sinatra? Yeah. It was okay.
My favorite part of that is every in-between scene is just a background of a casino and a garbage truck driving. Anyways. But no, and there's some that we're going to know. Like, some people don't know that it's a remake, but some people do. But essentially, those are like the best ones. Like Westworld, the TV show, is sort of a remake continuation of an old movie.
Which movie? Do you
Westworld.
Know? Oh, well.
Sorry.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm sorry, B-word. That's one of those moments, when somebody's like, well, 2 + 2 is 4.
What color blue is that? It's blue.
Blue, you idiot. No, it's but you know what I mean? Those are the points. And I think that's the problem I have with Hollywood, and it's not, it's not that there isn't original ideas out there. It's just they don't I understand it's a business. And it's a business of entertainment, but it feels like it's a business of making money, right? So essentially they're like, okay, because let's be honest here. If I told you, hey, I'm going to have a movie come out about a time-traveling pig. There's never been a movie about it, right? And we're going to make this movie about a time-traveling pig, Brian. Or the new Goonies sequel or remake's coming out. What are you most likely going to go see? Now, mind you, put aside like your hatred of knowing that a Goonies movie is going to come out, but which one are you probably going to see?
I'm probably going to go look at the pig.
Oh God! See, I knew as I started saying it.
I don't like remakes, man. Like, if I didn't know it was a remake,
all right, I guess I'll put it this way,
or a continuation, then okay, I'd probably go see it.
Mass Society. What do you think they're going to go see?
Oh, the name brand is everything.
Yeah, it's comfort.
It's everything.
It's comfort.
No. It's everything in clothes. It's everything in food. It's everything in politics. If you have a name brand, that's what makes you money, and that's what Hollywood banks on. You look at Martin Scorsese, right? Phenomenal director, probably one of my favorites.
Quentin Tarantino. Anything they make.
Tarantino, yeah. Absolutely. You look at Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. There's a ton of actors and actresses that have box office potential. You brought up Will Smith. Will Smith is another box office potential. You look at Julia Roberts. I talked Julia Roberts earlier. Box office potential. There's quite a bit of actors, actresses, directors, producers that make the movie. But I think, you look at like people that get typecasted into things. I think that like John Travolta as an example, he had this series of piss poor movies before Pulp Fiction. And, you thought he was down and out, like not you per se, but
I did.
Society thought that he was down and out and wouldn't recover. And I still think to some extent he probably still hasn't recovered to the point that we all thought he might have. But Bruce Willis, same thing. So, I do think that there's an issue in society with entertainment, that things fill a void and things are normal or comfortable, and we try. I talked about last episode. I bought a new pair of chonies. Right? You talked about your socks, like a comfortable pair of underwear, whether it be actual underwear or socks. You're probably going to gravitate and wear those a little bit more. Or a comfortable shirt, you're going to wear those a little bit more than the other ones.
See, and you're using my keyword right now because you're saying, marketability, and my keyword is comfort, because I think you go back to what you're comfortable with. People are comfortable seeing Will Smith in the movie. People are comfortable with the names they have. Like a perfect example, I have family members, right, that went to Italy.
Mm-hmm. You have family members?
I know. See, stop. You just listen to the whole sentence. I sometimes I breathe in the wrong part of a sentence. I'm one of those people. I put a comma in the middle of a sentence for no reason sometimes. So, anyways,
yes,
I have family members that see, now I can't even finish the sentence. I'm just stuck on family members, Brian. So no, they went traveling to Italy, right? Okay. And it was funny. They came back. Now I would not say they are the highest level of food. And the one thing about being a chef is everybody wants to talk to you about food, right? It's like, right. If you're a magician, everybody wants to see you do a magic trick. Mm-hmm. That's why I asked my cousin that works at Kinko's to make me copies all the time. Anyways, And I do it at random times at parties. Like, hey, man, you should make mixed coffees right now. Shut up, Jake. Well, everybody's asked me to cook the turkey, so I figured I'd ask you to do what you're good at.
Right?
No, so they went over to Italy, and they came back, and they were complaining. Now, mind you, I explained the differences to them when they were asking me, there's a lot of... There wasn't enough sauce on everything, and there was this and that. I said it's more about the pasta over there, and it's more about tradition, and they're not going to cover everything with a ton of fettuccine or Alfredo sauce, and and I said, well, where did you guys eat? So we were talking in the first few days, and this is what got me is I think the third or fourth day they went, oh, we went to McDonald's.
What?
And then
why would you go to McDonald's in Italy?
And they said because we knew what we would get essentially, and we were sick of not being happy with the food. And I said, wow. I get it, comfort. I mean, I'm not that type of person, but that's what we're saying, mass society, right? And I'm not saying mass society would do that, but there's a reason McDonald's exists in Italy, Brian. There's a reason Starbucks exists
Russia,
everywhere.
China, all those places.
And mind you, they do their own little menu, and they try to be different and do this. Like Mexican Coke is far superior than American Coke. I'll tell you that right now.
I agree.
European Skittles are far superior to American Skittles.
I've never had a European Skittle.
That's because they don't put any dyes in them, and it does make a difference. I will tell you that right now. Like almost all our food in America is illegal in other countries. I'm a bald eagle Freedom Party thumper. That I'm a red-blooded American, but I'm proud of this country. But I will say, sometimes our food, there's some problems.
Well, I agree with you because I went to Italy in 2017.
Okay.
And I was able to do a 13-day tour around Italy. So I tried a number of different foods there, and I'm a beer drinker. I brew beer. I like beer. We've talked about beer quite a bit.
Oh yeah, you had.
But I went over there. I went over there and I ordered a beer, and the only beer that was available in the restaurant is Beck's. Yep. And the last time I had Beck's was at a strip club in Hawaii, and that was not very good. And so I don't like Beck's at all. I feel like it's frozen piss, and that's just not appropriate for a beer. So as a non-wine person at the time, I started drinking the table wine, and I will tell you, the table wine mixed with the pasta, mixed with everything else is phenomenal over there. But I do think that like we're obviously talking about entertainment and such, I do think you do have to go against the grain sometimes and actually try things. So in this case, it allowed me to really enjoy becoming a wine person. Now I go on wine trips, and I like wine quite a bit. But in Hollywood, in television, in food, you have to get out there and you have to try new things. What's comfortable for us is not always the best thing for us, right? Because complacency is almost, everybody's enemy. It doesn't matter what the situation is. If you're stagnant, if you're complacent in what you're doing while you're doing it, and you're not willing to move forward, and you're not willing to even move backward to move forward, you're really just moving backward, metaphorically and also literally in some cases. And so being able to try new things and being able to experience new things is what really makes this world go past or go by and become successful. So in the article that you read where there's not any new ideas, there are several new ideas that I've actually been really fond of lately. Obviously, streaming is more of a new thing, and it's really only been around for about 15, 20 years. But with streaming, there's a lot of new content that's been able to hit televisions around the world that wouldn't have hit televisions or even movie theaters or even, direct-to-video sales before. And so I think that that's been a really, really good thing for entertainment. You look at movies like the one that's coming to mind is Peanut Butter Falcon. Did you watch Peanut Butter Falcon?
Film. Loved it.
I loved Peanut Butter Falcon. And not only did I love the storyline, I also loved how the actors interacted with each other. And Dakota Johnson did a great job in there. Shia LaBeouf did a great job in there. I don't know what the gentleman's name is who was the wrestling fan in the movie, but I do know that was his first movie, and he was phenomenal. Would he have been cast for another movie? Probably not. And so this movie was something that went against the grain, and I thought it was a great film. So I do think, you and I, obviously we talk quite a bit about entertainment, and one of the things that I appreciate about our conversations is that we do try to go against the grain. Now, you do it in some weird ways because you actually choose to watch very shitty, poor movies, and I'm not that person. Like, if I could, so as an example, I went with 3 other buddies to a movie, and we knew that we wanted to go to the movies. There wasn't really anything else to do. And it was a Johnny Depp movie. And I was like, well, Johnny Depp's a good actor. We'll go watch a Johnny Depp movie. So I picked the movie, right? It's a Johnny Depp movie. We get into the movie theater. and we have our popcorn and we have our sodas, and all of a sudden Johnny Depp's singing, right? I'm like, well, this is weird.
Sounds terrible.
Why is Johnny Depp singing? And then all of a sudden, all these other actors and actresses are singing, and all of a sudden Johnny Depp is murdering people while he's supposed to be cutting hair.
Oh, I love that movie, Sweeney Todd.
No, it was a terrible movie.
It's a great movie.
So I'm watching this film, and like after 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, hey guys, I gotta piss. And so I go out and I pee, right? And so then I'm dreading going back into the movie because I don't know if my buddies like this movie or not. So I go back in and I sit, and another friend of mine goes, I've got to piss. And so he goes out to the bathroom, right? Well, another friend goes, I've got to piss. So he goes out to the bathroom. So it's me and one other dude in the movie theater. And I don't know if he likes the movie or not. So like I'm trying not to say, hey guys, let's leave. And so he ends up like, hey Brian, I got to piss. Okay, man. So it's just me in the movie theater. Well, it's just me in the movie theater for probably another 10 minutes. And I start looking around. I'm like, where the fuck are these guys? So I go out. You know where they are? They're in the hallway. They're talking shit about my movie choice because Sweeney Todd was a terrible movie. And so
you're dumb. It was a good movie. I like that movie.
No,
I like that movie.
It wasn't a good movie.
It is a good movie. It's a great musical too.
No,
Singing
it's not.
Barber killing people. That's an original idea, B-word. We're just talking about original ideas. This is great.
No,
I was gonna make fun of you.
It would have been a great movie without it being a musical.
See, you're not a I'm a big musical fan. I mean, I was gonna.
It's not that I don't like musicals. I just didn't appreciate that movie being a musical.
So, okay, I mean, so I will. When you were giving that speech, I was just sitting there, and at first, when you finished, I was like, "Gee, thanks, Dad," and hopefully, you're going to be able to play that "The More You Know" music, do 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 do. And then you got into some other good stuff. But I mean, I mean, this. There's not any, like, you know, I'm not going to be as serious as you. I'm not even going to try. Never mind. You're right. There are original ideas out there. People make them. I mean, we're doing this dumb show for some reason because it's original.
Well, and yeah, it is original. I think, you know, I like what we're doing here, and for those of you in the audience who have really talked with us about it and given us your feedback, we certainly appreciate it. This is definitely a podcast that is for entertainment purposes. Jake and I have a great relationship, and we're trying to display that and trying to show some of the chemistry that we have. But this is a new mode of entertainment for the both of us, and it's something that we're trying that's new. And I think, Jake, I can speak on behalf of both of us, it's rather uncomfortable. But I think that the thing about being uncomfortable is it allows us to have a new experience here. And I kind of wish, you know, going back to the topic at hand, I kind of wish that Hollywood would do that. I think that that's why the podcast market has blown up. I think there's a lot of new voices that are on there that you probably would have never heard of. The streaming market has blown up. There's a lot of movies and television series that you would have never heard of otherwise. And I think that you and I are going to have a great time reviewing them, talking about them, and going through some stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd close us out on, you know, essentially they need to get uncomfortable and try new things. And obviously, you know, there's a reason certain methods of entertainment die because they're too stubborn to change. I mean, this is why podcasts blew up compared to radio. You know, I've been in radio. I've worked on radio, and I know that it could be, you know, so it's almost like a boss micromanaging you at times. Listen to radio shows now. I mean, there's ones like Howard Stern and them that come out once a generation and sort of change the game, but they still work within the parameters, right? And then there's people that just go out and do something different, or like, I'm not going to obey those rules. And that's, I think, what we're waiting for Hollywood to do. I mean, that's why I got really into indie films and crappy films on top of that, just because, you know what, it's different. I don't mind watching a bunch of sharks in a tornado ripping people's faces off. It's entertainment. It's fun. That's what I go for. I mean, I like slow, boring movies and stuff, but I also go for something that's out of the box. Like, right. You know, I don't want to go see another, like, Channing Tatum star flick with too much CGI and big names that I could give a crap. That was made after the new thing. What is it? A teeny bopper novel. You know that. You know, this novel series was great. So let's
talking about the one with him and
Jupiter Ascending.
Wife. Yeah.
I never saw it, but you know what I'm saying.
It's actually like, pretty good.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, well, you would say that. See, that's the difference. I like Sweeney Todd, and you like Jupiter Ascending. You know what? Whenever I watch Channing Tatum, I do the same thing with my wife. I push my ears out and I look at her and go, "It's gonna be okay." Because that's him in every movie. It's just him and Brendan Fraser are the two characters I could just mimic all day. Because Brendan Fraser is this.
The rule of two.
I'm gonna close you on this one, B-word. We gotta go, and that's Brendan Fraser in every movie, making a dumb face. Whether it's a comedy, a scary movie, or an action flick. In The Mummy, we gotta go. Him in a comedy, we gotta go, and it's just
George of the Jungle, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. So, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna say that this podcast that we're venturing in on, we're going to eliminate the rule of two because I don't know that there's ever going to be any others that are like you and I. And so we're gonna have that commitment there. But on that note, Jake, we're gonna close it out. So, what do you got for us?
Thanks for the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized. We gotta go.
We gotta go.